Alright, what is going on, everybody? Welcome aboard to the Big Orse weighted pull-up method by myself, Aaron Parker. First of all, I want to welcome everybody, and I appreciate the time you have taken aboard to watch this presentation. So my name is Aaron Parker. You can call me AP if you want. I'm 25 years old. I'm an exercise scientist who graduated from Murdoch University, which is a university in Australia, in 2021 with a double major in movement science and sport and health science. And the strong points is being handsome as fuck, Chad, smart, and downright based. So, the reason why I wanted to do this video for you guys is I wanted to get some fellas out there who wanted to get some jacked, strong, and striated backs. Striated wasn't the best word right there, but you get where I'm coming from, bro. So I think this is a really good idea for most individuals that are at the natural status. So why am I going to tell you guys to get a strong weighted pull-up? Because 99% of individuals who get stronger weighted pull-ups usually most of the time have absolute and relative strength increasing simultaneously. So if you are 90 kilos, at this point you're only pulling up 20 kilos for 5 repetitions, and you go to a point where you can get it to the same weight at, let's say, 91 kilos, so you gain a little bit of mass, and you get to 40 kg for 5 reps. At this point, your numbers will increase with your body weight as well for repetitions and as well for overall total weight, because people tend to forget that your body weight still counts as volume and as weight added to the pull-up, because you're pulling up about 90 kilos or close to about 80 kilos of your body weight to the bar. So that's very important, that most individuals who get strong at weighted pull-ups also have very jacked backs. That is also a very important factor to take into place. Drug-free lifters must maximize their weighted calisthenics to improve muscular hypertrophy in targeted areas. Very, very basic, man. Calisthenics, particularly with weight, does build muscle mass, and it also builds strength. It also builds tremendous joint integrity as well. It is very badass and chat as fuck to go inside a commercial gym, slab on 2 plates, and hit the pull-ups for repetitions as well. So it's very important to have the badassery, to have the hypertrophy, to have the strength, and as well, this shit keeps you accountable year-round with your body fat. Because if you're eating too much food, you're getting excessively fluffy, at some point, the pull-up numbers will go down. It's going to teach you how to have a performance-based mindset of strength in the gym. So, bro, you're not chasing aesthetics, you're not chasing the look, you're not chasing body dysmorphia PRs. You're chasing in the gym to get a 2.5 kilo PR on your weighted pull-up. And I'm here to help you out with that. So, sit back, enjoy the ride, have a coffee, get a good old diet soda if you want to as well. It doesn't matter. I hope you with this journey and enjoy it as well. Have some fun. We're here to have fun, bro. So, the 7 considerations that I like to put into place with individuals who want to improve their weighted pull-up. Treating the weighted pull-up like a competition lift. Example, squat, bench, and deadlift. The second example is management of volume, frequency, intensity for strength and hypertrophy. 3 is elbow health. 4 is grip positioning. 5 is assistance exercises. 6 is organizing a weighted pull-up day for your training. 7 is body composition. So let's start off with point 1. Most people treat the pull-up as a throwaway / accessory exercise. Bro, no one takes the pull-up seriously. Even on back days, bro, they go 3 to 4 sets, 10 to 15 repetitions, fluff it out, RPE 7 to 8. As soon as it gets a little bit tough, they're just like, fuck this, I'm calling it a day after this point, bro. We can't be that type of individual, okay? We need to learn how to specialize the pull-up for back growth and for strength. You prioritize this exercise, it's going to make your back strong as hell, and it's going to make your back look white as wings, which is what we want to do, okay? So the specialization methodology is what we're going to put into place by treating it like a competition lift. Just like a competition lift, we are periodizing it, or as well, we are putting so much commitment into that movement that it's going to have its own independent day, which is very important, and I'm going to teach you how to structure that and organize that. It's very difficult for to find an athlete out there who does have a strong pull-up that lacks in size, strength, or carryovers to other lifts. Bro, if you get nasty strong at weighted pull-ups, it's undeniable that your strength is going to shoot through the roof. There's no doubt about it. Let's not get it twisted. And most individuals who got a nasty weighted pull-up, relative to also having a good amount of muscle mass and a nice amount of bulk on them as well, tend to have a pretty massive back. It's very, very rare to find an individual, bro, who lacks in size in their backside if their weighted pull-up is relatively strong as hell. Relative to training experience, to their anthropometry, and not only that as well, just to obviously how much body weight they have on them as well. And if you get stronger weighted pull-ups, bro, it's going to also strengthen up your upper back as well. It's not just a lat exercise. You strengthen up your upper back. You strengthen up your secondary muscles like your brachialuses, your forearms, and as well your bicep tendons as well are going to get very strong. And just like I told you guys before, pull-ups are a tremendous accountability between absolute and relative strength for your body composition and as well your training status, okay? So, fellas, if you're 10 years into this whole training game, you should be able to smack out pull-ups for repetitions pretty damn comfortably, even with like 10 to 20 kilos. Okay, so now it's going to come down to management of volume, frequency, and intensity for strength and hypertrophy. So, guys, the point of this is that we're going to make sure that we hit strength and we hit hypertrophy as well. So, let's go through the terminologies that we're going to be using here when it comes to volume, intensity, and frequency. So volume is the amount of work usually performed within the certain exercise, okay? Now, how you do that is you usually go sets times repetition times the weight, which is going to equivalent to your dosage of volume that you're bringing to that exercise. The increase in volume usually tends to be a good sign that you are progressively overloading or getting stronger. Even if it's by one repetition, guys, within one singular set out of those 3 sets, you're still progressively overloading and getting stronger. That's very important, fellas, to remember, okay? Intensity is how much exertion and perceived effort are you going to put into that work or that volume that you performed. So, the amount of work that you performed, how intense was that work? How much effort and perceived exertion did you put into that? Usually, for most individuals, the best way to go about it is usually to equivalent to RPE. RPE means is a rate of perceived exertion, and as well, reps in reserve. So it's very important to remember these terminologies right here, fellas, okay? So frequency is the dosage of work being performed throughout a week. So how much of that is being spread out throughout an entire week that we could say, is it once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, hell, even 5 times a week for some individuals, man. Okay? Now this is going to be very important to manage our volume and our intensity, because the load management is going to be key for lessening our chances of injury within the wrist, the forearms, the elbows, and even the shoulder as well, guys. So it's very, very smart to figure out your minimum effective dosages of volume and training, or what is suitable for you in terms of the volume and in terms of the intensity that you need to bring to the table. Now, intensity is inevitably going to be a factor behind improving your strength and your hypertrophy. So intensity needs to stay relatively high year-round when it comes to this, guys. But the volume may differ and change depending on the person. Some people can only tolerate 2 sets. Hell, some people can tolerate a 5x5 if they really wanted to and still get away with it doing it year-round. It just depends on the individual, okay? And this is where you need to figure out what is going to suit you best. Now, strength is neuromuscularly driven, okay? So that 1 to 5 repetition range is usually going to accumulate to strength gains, okay? So that is why, guys, if we want to treat this exercise like a competition lift, fellas, you need to get the heavy singles going. You need to get the doubles. You need to get the triples. You need to think about going for your heavy singles pretty much year-round when it comes to the weighted pull-up. Now, people may go, wow, isn't this going to put a lot of stress on your shoulders and your elbows and your biceps? If you regulate yourself properly and auto-regulate yourself correctly, and you ensure that your volume and intensity is just dosaged well, depending on person to person, then that's something that you have to experiment with, man. You should be fine to do a single pretty much year-round. And not only that as well, most people aren't even that fucking strong to worry about a stimulus to fatigue ratio, particularly when it comes to weighted pull-ups. Most people aren't that strong at pull-ups, bro. Now, we need to think about hypertrophy, mechanical tension, progressive overload, and effective repetitions as well. 4 to 30 repetitions is going to be your money spot, guys, when it comes to hypertrophy. So 4 reps, guys, will still induce a great amount of hypertrophy, okay? So anywhere between those areas, people think that 30 repetitions is more of a muscular endurance. Bro, if the last 5 repetitions are hard as hell, regardless of what repetition scheme you go with, you'll be perfectly fine, and if you progressively overload, you still will get hypertrophy gains inside the muscles. Okay, fellas, so now we're going to talk about elbow health real quick. Now, elbow health is going to be very important for a lot of individuals because this will be the thing that holds you back from getting strong as hell, okay? So, if you do too much too quickly, guys, so if you go from going, like, training up to a heavy single of RPE 8, and then you add in a back-off sets of 5x5 with, like, an RPE 10 every single set, that shit's going to get pretty difficult, and it's going to absolutely smoke your elbows, Okay? You're going to get a lot of golfer's elbows issues. You're going to get a lot of issues with the wrist as well. Okay? So what you want to do is, let's say, to start off with, let's say, 2x5. And that's literally going to be your working ground. 2x5, RPE 8. Okay? That is what you should be figuring out right there. Okay? Now, another thing that people tend to underrate when it comes to elbow health is grip positioning. So, grip positioning is stuff like, are you going overhand to do your pull-ups? Are you going supinated? These may be forcing yourself into positions for your anthropometry and your current mobility demands and current mobility that you just can't fucking do. And that is okay. I wouldn't even stress about that much, that this is going to become an issue for yourself. Okay? Learn to just humble yourself down and not worry about having to do an overhand pull-up. Okay? You can do rings, you can do neutral grip. There's plenty of variability when it comes to options and movements. Okay? Now, another thing as well is going to be your grip strength. Most people's grip strength kind of sucks. Okay? Now, lifting straps are great. And I don't dislike lifting straps at all, because it eliminates the grip portion out of certain exercises, particularly for your back. However, if you use it for every single thing that you do, relative that it needs a necessity of lifting straps, your grip's going to die out at some point. Your grip and your forearm strength is just not going to be there, and it's going to be pretty bad. Now, one thing that I get so cringed at with so many individuals, bro, is that they go, well, if you don't use lifting straps for your back training, it's actually pretty good forearm exercise. No, it's not, bro. That's not the point of back exercises, dude. The point of the back exercise is to be a fucking back exercise. It's not to be a grip exercise. So don't worry about, gripping and ripping of your back exercise, because you're just selling yourself short on your back strength, more so than your forearm strength, because your forearm strength is going to be the deprivation factor behind your lifting. Now, some people may argue that to be a pretty good thing, because it lessens down the weight, so you're not going to be as fatigued. But the point is to get your back strong. That's the point of a back day. It's not a forearm day, bro. It's a back day. If you want to get your grip strong, just directly train your grip, dude. That's all you need to do. Okay, so now we're moving on to the grip styles and the grip positions. Okay? Now, there are many positions that you can play around with. So you have rings. Now, the accessibility of rings is going to be quite difficult for most individuals, bro, because most people don't have rings at their gym. So this is why I recommend consider purchasing rings, either for your house or to bring with you to the gym. Because if you have rings of your accessibility that you bought yourself, you can either just donate that to the gym and just give it to the gym and say, hey, listen, I got some equipment here. They're thrilled about that type of stuff, guys. So I think that's a really good idea, is either donating or just bringing them along with you and just learning how to set it up yourself. So you got two options right there. But rings are likely going to be, for most individuals, your best positioning to do pull-ups with. You got supinated, which is going to be your weighted chin-up. Okay, supinated. Think about the bowl of soup. You're not going to carry a bowl of soup with your knuckles facing on top of the sky or facing the sky. You carry the bowl of soup with your palms and the fingertips facing upwards. The next one is a pronated position. Now, the pronated position, same thing, is a really great position for most individuals because it's just overhand. You keep it simple, right? But what I tend to hear from a lot of individuals with the pronated position is that they tend to suck at engaging the back with a pronated position, right? And they have to use lifting straps, which isn't bad, because then same thing, it eliminates the forearms out of the pull-up or the overhand pronated position. Excuse me, man, I just had lunch. Your boy had a big Orse lunch, so like, I'm like kind of like breathing while still digesting the food down. So the pronated position is going to be a good position for some individuals, man. But as I said, you should get to a point where you're trying to eliminate the lifting straps out of your pull-ups. But if you use lifting straps for pull-ups, it's not that big of a deal, dude. I wouldn't even stress about it that much. But it's probably a good option and idea to try and get used to not using straps for your pull-ups. Okay? Now, the next one is going to be a neutral grip position, which pretty much is the middle ground between a supinated and a pronated position. Okay? Neutral grip is almost like the hammer curl of pull-ups. You're going to get a lot of brachialis work. It's going to feel really good on your shoulders as well, guys. And because it almost tucks your, excuse me, it's going to tuck your elbows towards your hip a bit more because it's going to promote more shoulder adduction and shoulder extension. It's probably going to be your best variation of the pull-up that's going to bias your lat more. So it's going to make your lats pretty damn thick and dense, okay? Whereas a pronated position or overhand position, it's going to be more biasing your upper back, okay? And then the supinated is going to bias more of your biceps and your lower lats, okay? Now, semi-supinated, guys, is the same thing. It's almost like a diagonal or like a triangular V-positioned pull-up grip, okay? So this is an excellent exercise. A lot of people love the semi-supinated position, and it's becoming very popular, which is kind of dope. So this is a great variation between the neutral grip and the supinated position, okay? Then you have the semi-pronated, which is a middle ground between the neutral grip and the pronated grip, okay? Now, this one is low-key kind of underrated. I actually really love semi-pronated positions for pull-ups. A lot of people hate them, but if you get a shoulder-width grip, it's very rare to find at a gym. But if you find one that has a shoulder-width positioning and you do pull-ups with a semi-pronated position, it feels really, really nice. Like, you'll like it quite a lot. I like it quite a lot when I do find it. Now, most people have a hard time with the supinated position and the pronated position. Now, people find it hard with the supinated position because most people don't have enough external rotation in their shoulders to be able to feel out their lats. Most of them become very bicep dominant, and it almost feels like a forced positioning for the wrist, even if you go thumbless or false grip on the chin up. So this is why I recommend people to just not worry about the supinated too much until they improve the mobility in their shoulders, especially their external rotation. So I want to give you guys a little bit of a task right now. It's almost like try to reach up over your head where you're almost reaching the sky, but try and almost twist your palm and your elbow into the bowler suit position where your palm and your fingertips are literally facing right behind you. I'm telling you guys, it is a very, very, very difficult thing to do for most individuals without flaring or extending at the lower back, okay? Pronated position, same thing. Pronated position you could absolutely do, okay? Pronated position is not a bad thing because usually for most individuals, they can tend to get that shoulder flexion and then as well not extend their back with that type of position. The issue comes with the elbows and the forearms and the wrist as a deprivation and an issue, right? So that's usually the number one issue for most individuals when it comes to that type of pull-up training, is that they tend to struggle with their elbows and their wrists, right? So this is something I tell people to try and not worry about too much. And most people don't feel like their backs when they do this type of exercise. They tend to suck pretty hard at overhand pull-ups. Most people do, and that's okay. So a tip to give people, bro, people, particularly in the calisthenic areas, bro, they tend to be like, oh, yeah, but if it's not overhand, if it's not an overhand pull-up, you shouldn't be doing it, or it's cheating. It's easier. Bro, like, who cares? Like, don't be that guy. Don't be a Debbie Downer. Don't ruin it for individuals, bro, that are trying to get into this type of training. And you make it quite difficult for these individuals to feel welcome in this type of community and this type of area of calisthenics. They want to get into calisthenics, but they make it quite tough with these pretentious and elitist individuals that come in here thinking that they know everything, and anybody who's a novice or a rookie or just trying to just get a massive back, they throw shit at them. And it doesn't really matter what the grip positioning is. It's still a pull-up. You still have to grab your body weight and shoot it up. So who gives a shit about which positioning you like the most? It's going to come down to you most of all, but before anybody. All right, guys, so I got a little bit of a progression chart right here for most individuals where it should be that the ring pull-up is going to be your probably go-to to start off with. The second will be your neutral grip, semi-supinated, semi-pronated, supinated, then pronated. That's kind of like the progression order, because the ring pull-ups is going to give you freedom of movement. The neutral grip is going to give you more lat biasing work, so it's going to feel best for individuals that want to get their lats really, really strong and feel out the lats better, because it favors to the function of the lats, which is shoulder adduction, so bringing the shoulder in, and then extension, so bringing the shoulder back behind your body is going to be your best one for the neutral grip. But the ring pull-up is going to do the same thing, bro, because you can have that freedom of movement where it's not going to hurt your elbows and your wrists much, but as well, you're going to feel out your back size quite more because you're going to get a good amount of range of motion, you have good flexibility, and you kind of customize it to however is suitable for yourself. The third is going to be the semi-supinated position. The semi-supinated is a great position, guys. I definitely recommend it for individuals out there for sure. It's very underrated. But at the same time, this is kind of that middle, that breaking point between a supinated position and then a neutral grip, right? So it finds that middle ground between those two exercises. Then it's going to be the semi-pronated position. The semi-pronated, I'm telling you guys, you find a semi-pronated grip, which is going to be between a pronated grip and a neutral grip. That middle ground between those two grip styles is actually very underrated, and you're going to find a lot of brachialis work in that exercise, and it's going to feel very smooth. Trust me. I've tried it before, and it feels fantastic. And I've got some fucked up shoulders and some bad elbows, and it feels great. Then it's going to be supinated, okay? Because you're going to feel the same thing. More of your lats on this exercise than your forearms and your elbows. Then, the king of them all, the pronated position. Now, if you want to stick to just doing ring pull-ups your whole entire life, that's perfectly fine. But I will say, you will go through some overusage issues at some point or another, where you may need to switch up the variability between the exercises of the pull-up. So as I said to you guys before, find a grip positioning that you could feel when you raise your shoulder to the sky, and then you can pull down to your hip, okay? So you're almost like raising up as high as you can to the sky. So finding that comfortable grip position and then pulling it down as hard as you can. If you can feel your lats or your upper back or your biceps during that grip positioning, that's going to help out a lot. All right, guys, so let's go into the assistance exercises. Now, I've been questioning this for a decent amount of time, is like the necessity of rows in training protocols, particularly if you've got pull-ups already in that program. And for me, I think the rows are there as a quote-unquote structural integrity issue. Because I feel like if you're not doing a row variation in your programming, it's going to first of all lend us some weaknesses going into your vertical pull patterns. So the two are like peaches and cream. They complement each other quite nicely. But if I had to pick one, and one was only necessary, the pull-up is probably going to be your best go-to, because you're still going to develop some upper back gains anyway from the pull-ups. Okay, but rows are going to be there as more of a complementary exercise. Okay, more of just like, hey, we need them in there just to ensure that we're hitting some sort of horizontal pulling pattern. Okay, because it will lend us some issues and some weaknesses in that movement pattern specifically, okay? Now, I recommend for most individuals to pick a upper back or rear delt biased row variation. So, something that just flares your elbows out, bro. Just think about that. So, if your elbows are flared out to, like, say 45 degrees or, like, to 90 degree, yeah, you're going to be perfectly fine to, like, hit your upper back and your rear delts. So, that's, like, the number one recommendation I have for most individuals that really want to train their upper backs and their rear delts is just think about an elbow flaring style of rowing pattern. And then maybe if you want to get rid of the lower back portion out of the training, it may be a solid idea to perhaps go on a chest-supported machine or a chest-supported row variation. But I think there is still some validity to doing non-chest-supported upper back movements or rowing movements for the sake of conditioning for your erectors and your back side, okay? I think it's very important to hit the rows just for the sake of, as I said, hitting a row as well, okay? Now, lat pull downs, overrated or not? Now, I have actually found the lat pull down to be slightly overrated for most individuals, bro. Because if they're progressing with their pull-ups, most of the time, the vertical pulling pattern is getting into place. Number two as well, it's, as I said, the other part about the pull-up that you don't get with the pull-down is accountability factor with your body composition. If you're getting bulky and, like, eating shit all the time, the pull-ups are going to show. The pull-ups are going to show you that. They're going to show you that, bro. Lat pull-downs don't. Lat pull-downs are just going to fucking stack on weight, even if you're bulky or you're lean, right? And this is where I think there's a red flag with lat pull-downs and not adding in some sort of like relative strength bodyweight calisthenic work for this perspective. Now, let's not get it twisted. Lat pull-downs, if you still progressively overload, the technique's good and you're still getting tension in your lats, they're still going to grow your lats. They will. They're still going to grow your lats. But as I said to you guys, the reasoning outside of those things is going to be the difference maker for me between choosing a pull-up and a lat pull-down. If you're obese or you're just a beginner at the gym, Yeah, I'm going to add in a lat pull down for you, bro, because you don't have a good lat strength. You're piss weak with your body weight. You're probably going to have to need some sort of secondary lat exercise to complement your pull-ups. So for this structuring, I am going to add in lat work directly through lat pull downs because just strengthening up the strengths, bro. You know what I mean? If you're getting stronger at weighted pull-ups, it's probably going to be a solid idea to also add in just a little bit more juice to those lats through some even more direct work via external stability. So you're going to be stabilized through the machine. It's going to allow you to just really hammer home those lats. Now, a potential arm day is going to potentially be the king of your elbow health, right? Now, let me explain why. Elbows love lubricating movements. It loves movement, right? It loves connective tissue work. It loves extension. It loves flexion. So if you're avoiding these type of things, that's not a good idea, okay? Everybody, regardless if you are a genetic outlier who does get a lot of arm growth through pull-ups and weighted dips, you probably still need to get a direct arm training involved at some point for the sake of shoulder and elbow health, okay? And that's another benefit behind arm training as well directly is shoulder health, right? So if you put your body in your shoulder in front of you, your shoulder behind you, you're going to be biasing internal/external rotation biases of your shoulder depending on the degree of angle that you're training your arms at. And it's also going to bias lengthening and shortening of your biceps as well. And it's going to feel good on your elbows. Your elbows are going to thank you because you're not putting it inside a fixated position that is forced. You're going to do a lot of dumbbell curls. You're going to do dumbbell tricep extensions, tricep push downs that are just going to feel really excellent on the elbows as well. And if you're doing a lot of elbow flexion with the pull-ups, it's probably a good idea to counteract that with some elbow extension. That's why our back and tricep sessions are actually low-key kind of underrated. If you're doing pull-ups and then you're going straight into tricep extensions straight afterward, your elbows are going to feel great afterwards. So if you do get niggling elbows or golfer's elbow on pull-ups of any variation, you may actually want to consider a back and tricep session where you're smacking out your weighted pull-ups, then you're going into like some sort of dumbbell tricep extension. Okay, so conditioning is also going to be an assistance exercise because it's going to assist with your work capacity. Fellas, I don't care how strong you are. If you don't have a gas engine or a tank relative to your body fat percentage, to your training experience, your training's going to suck and you're going to get tired as hell very, very quickly. The conditioning just allows you to feel better during rest periods and allows you to rest quicker in between sets, and your recovery between sets is going to improve, allowing you to do more repetitions and more work in between throughout your training volume. So it's just going to prove that how much you can fit in within that session, okay? High repetition Zottman curls, like that 10 to 15 repetition range, low-key may be very goated. Let me explain why. When you're doing a Zottman curl, at the eccentric portion, which is going to be a very important part, particularly if you're doing overhand pull-ups, guys, is that loading, eccentric loading on the brachialis and forearm muscles, which is something that the Zottman curl does quite beautifully, is eccentrically loading your brachialis muscles and your elbows and your connective tissue around that forearm and wrist area. As well, it teaches you freedom of movement because what's happening as well, fellas, is that you're actually moving your wrist into different positions. So you're bringing the hand from supinated to pronated and you're eccentrically loading that pronated position, which is really, for most folks out there, is going to be your weak point in terms of like forearm strength, okay? So you're eccentrically loading the most toughest position for your forearms to eccentrically control, right? So I think like doing high repetition is just going to get some good blood flow into your biceps and into your forearms. Okay, so now the last one is going to be high repetition banded assisted pull-ups as an accessory movement. Guys, I want you to get technique down pat, but as well, I want you to get your lats strong as hell. So I think this is an excellent way to get your lats very, very strong, but as well, get a lot of hypertrophy work and get your back super jacked. If you have enough external stability from the band or a machine, it's probably a good idea to allow yourself to just let the lats work and load up the lats quite nicely and go in chest to bar or even sternum to bar to build up your pull-up capacity, okay? So, on to now, organizing a weighted pull-up day. Hang on, let me get a quick sip of some Waterford's Light and Fruity. I've been getting these lime and bitters, and they taste really damn good, man. All right, we back on, boy. All right, so How I like to train this is, fellas, pick whatever the hell variation you want for your weighted pull-up. I don't give a shit, bro. It doesn't matter. Work up to a heavy 1 to 3 repetitions at an RPE 8 to 10. Now, some days you're going to feel like shit. So auto-regulate the repetitions or the RPE, okay? Auto-regulate means that, like, basically drop the weight down, drop the RPE down, or even increase the RPE, or increase the weight if you're feeling good. Now, rest periods, to be honest with you guys, I don't give a fuck. Like, rest for as much as you can. Don't rest too long as well because your joints are going to get cold, but just rest enough just to where you feel confident that you can get back into it. And that's the same thing with the back off sets, fellas. I truly don't care about how much rest you take. I really don't. Just as long as you're not going too long so you're not staying cold either. So for me, I don't give a shit, man. It doesn't really bother me that much if you don't rest for long, okay? It doesn't matter. Now, the back off sets, I want you to start off with 2 sets per week, or 2 sets of your back off sets. Let me explain why. This is an issue with most individuals when it comes to the elbow health, as I talked about before, is that they load up too quickly, too fast, okay? 2 sets is going to still give you a good amount of stimulus and growth, bro. So I wouldn't stress too much about going to 5x6 or 5x5 that quickly, okay? Now, why did I pick 4 to 6 repetitions? 4 to 6 repetitions is going to be a solid middle ground between neuromuscular-driven strength work and as well hypertrophy work. And what I noticed as well, bro, is lower repetitions, particularly with the idea that these optimal training hypertrophy guys on the internet are talking about, is effective reps theory, which means that the most effective reps are going to be a final 5 repetitions. Bro, imagine starting at 5 reps. Like 2 sets of 5. Bro, every single one of those 5 reps is going to be very intense and relatively heavy, which is pretty dope, man. So you're going to get a massive stimulus in your lats and your upper back and your biceps and your forearms from those 5 repetitions. It's going to inflict a lot of growth and stimulus. So the rest periods as well, same thing. I really don't give a shit, dude. It truly doesn't bother me how much rest you need to take. If you have a better gas engine or a gas tank from the conditioning that I talked about earlier on with your work capacity, you shouldn't have to need that much rest, maybe like 5 to 6 minutes. But if you don't, 8 minutes sometimes may do it, bro. 8 to 10 minutes sometimes may pull it off. Now, you don't want to be in the gym forever. However, if you do have enough time, bro, give yourself enough rest in between, okay? Now, upper back and rear delt bias row variation, 2 to 3 sets, 6 to 5 repetitions, RPE 8 to 9. It's very, very tough, guys, to not go all the way to failure with row variations. So just take the shit close to failure or even absolute failure if you really want to, bro. It's not going to, it's not going to affect your training that hard. Now we got a superset right here of Zopman curls of 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions, and then incline dumbbell tricep extensions with some thick handles as well. Now, the thick handles are going to be easy, which I didn't even explain in the last slides. I apologize for that. You might have saw that and you thought, why didn't he elaborate on that? Well, let me explain now. The thick grips are going to be good for crushing, right? It's going to be good for forearm strengthening and as well forearm like stability, bro, because it's going to make your elbows feel quite nice when you get nice and thick and juicy handles on these type of exercises because the diameter is improved, right? So it's going to distribute all of that tension into the elbow as well. So it's going to make it's going to make it feel very, very nice and gentle on the elbows, and you won't have to use as much weight, which is also quite important as well to remember, is that weight isn't everything, bro. Like, as long as you're still contracting the muscle and you're still getting tension within the muscle, the body doesn't give a fuck if you used 5 kilos or 10 kilos. As long as you're progressively overloading, getting stronger, you should be okay. So don't worry about the thick handles too much. All right, guys, so now we're going to go on to day 2, which is going to be a band-assisted chest-to-bar pull-up variation with a controlled or slow eccentric. Now, I don't need you to go fucking matrix slow time of 10 years on the lowering part. 3 to 5 seconds is going to be plenty for most individuals, okay? Now, I want you to actually cut short of failure on these exercises as well, because I want you to think about less rest in between and just getting a giga pump in those lats, and then slowly, week by week, just creating some sort of progression for yourself, okay? So 3 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions, so we're going to be really aiming towards more blood flow, more hypertrophy, more higher repetitions for this pull-up variation. Now, expect to be humbled, dude. Expect to be humbled. This is going to be a very, very difficult thing to do for most individuals. That's why Franco Colombo did a lot of chest or slash sternum to bar pull-ups with the controlled eccentric. He didn't even have to use any weight, bro. And that's Franco freaking Colombo. Do you know what I mean? So do you think you would have to use weight on this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So don't stress about using a band or using a machine, fellas. Humble yourself down. Have that humility where you're going to be okay with that. Okay, so now we're going to go through our rest of our upper body movements, just so we can still get some sort of pump and still get our upper body movements that we need for the day, like our pushing muscles, our shoulders, a little bit of connective tissue work at the bottom as well, which is going to strengthen up those elbow tendons and those forearm ligaments as well, which is going to be very important to ensure that we have enough capacity within the tendons of those elbows to ensure that we're getting strong as hell. Okay, so we've got the single arm pull down, the dumbbell bench press, the standing cable lateral raise, and the dumbbell hammer curls, and the banded hammer curls and the banded tricep push downs for 2 sets of 50. Now, you don't have to do 3 sets. You don't have to do 4 sets, bro. Just find a comfortable RPE for the incline dumbbell bench press and the side lateral raises, which is going to be about, for most people, maybe 1 to 2 reps in reserve. So if you could have gone all out on, let's say, 20 kilos for 3x8 on the incline dumbbell bench press, for an example, but you felt like you had 2 more reps in the tank, that's what it means by 2 reps in reserve, or RPE 8, right? So how I'm programming it for you fellas is that you're still specializing in the pull-up, but you're still getting a little bit of upper body work, okay? Okay, so the body composition part is going to be actually quite important, because if you're too bulky, bro, this thing is going to be absolutely counterproductive for you, and I wouldn't even bother, period. I wouldn't bother. So 12 to 20% body fat should be the aim. Now, I've seen some people at 20% body fat, bro, and this is where people tend to undermine that fluffier, like more borderline overweight stage. You can actually get pretty strong at that, at pull-ups, even at 20% body fat. You won't be as good as the guy at 12%, but you could get pretty strong. You could get reasonably strong even at that 20% body fat. But the goal should be to be about 12 to 15% body fat year-round if your goal is to, try to get strong as fuck at the weighted pull-up, but as well, you're not deprivating yourself of being too lean, where your absolute strength is going to drop off so goddamn much. Okay? So your size will drop off a little bit as well if you do get too lean, and you're going to feel like crap. It's not going to feel good at all. You're going to feel tired. You're going to feel exhausted. You're not going to maximize your performance in the gym if you're like 8 to 10% body fat percentage year-round. And you just want to look big in shirts, bro. You know what I mean? Like, the point of this as well is to look jacked as hell in shirts, okay? And to look big with your lats. I want you to get wings for your lats. So I want to make sure that you eat enough nutrient-dense calories to enhance your training as well, but don't eat too much at the same time where you're going to look fluffy, you're going to look excessively bulky, and you're just going to gain the weight so goddamn quickly, okay? So most of the time, it comes down to having some self-awareness and accountability with how much you're eating, and understanding you probably need to overestimate how much you're eating more so than anything, bro. So that means, like, for example, if you don't track your calories and you intuitively eat, bro, most of the time, you're probably eating too much. You're probably eating too much. So that's why I tell people all the time, get that protein super high, get those carbs high, minimize the fats as much as you can, and just replace those fats with fruits and vegetables. That's it. So carb sources, bro, potatoes, sweet potato, rice, honey, fruits like bananas, coconut water, watermelon, strawberries, blueberries, dragon fruit, papaya, mango, shit doesn't matter, bros. Just get some fruit into here. Vegetables, broccoli, asparagus, leek, spring onion is not a vegetable, but, you know, it's still fantastic. A lot of high vitamin K in it. And as well, just like many greens, spinach, kale. So just find a way that you can get your vegetables in as well, because that's just going to give you those micronutrients, those vitamins to really enhance your training as well. Think about supplementation, so things like creatine monohydrate, maybe the only one I may think about. Whey protein isolate, if you struggle to keep on top of your protein intake, whey protein isolate is going to be fantastic as well. And pick foods that are going to digest really nicely in your stomach as well, man, because what you want to think about as well is minimizing your gut issues as much as you can. Probiotics as well, so add a little bit of fermented vegetables, something like pickles, cabbage, kimchi, to 1 to 2 of your meals per day, just so you're digesting quite nicely. And make sure you're staying active outside of the gym, bro. Don't be a lazy fuck once training's done. Okay, make sure you're walking around the place. Make sure you're still getting some steps in throughout your day, just so digestion becomes a little bit easier. Get out of the sun for some vitamin D. So keep the common sense stuff, guys, intact as well. And honestly, you could probably keep like that 12 to 15% body fat pretty much year round and pretty comfortably. And if you do go to 20% body fat, bro, don't stress. Just think of it as extra energy, extra capability to pack on some size. And then when it is time for you to cut down, just lose the weight. Lose the weight. And it may take like 2 to 3 months to get to 15%, and you'll be perfectly fine. So just go through a small mini cut where you're going to be at about a point where you're going to be at about 15%, 40%, and you should be okay to rock and roll again and train heavy, right? So those are the things that you need to remember. And most of the time as well, fellas, is that some of you guys may need to just lose a little bit more weight off your body to ensure that you're getting those strength standards back to wherever they need to get to, right? So this happens most of the time, is that if you're training your pull-ups and getting disgustingly strong at 20% body fat, dude, imagine what you could be at 13 to 14. That's fucking terrifying to think about. Particularly if you already got 2 plates for reps or 3 plates for reps at 20% or near 20% body fat. Imagine what your body composition is going to be like and your strength levels are going to be like for your external load once you get down to 12 to 13% body fat. It's going to look absolutely disgusting. You're going to look strong as shit. You're going to feel like a freak on absolute ends, bro. It's going to look crazy. Alrighty, guys. So I appreciate the time that you guys took in today to listen to me talk about the weighted pull-up and the Big Orse method. If you have any questions, guys, just comment down below or give me a message via Instagram, which is going to be Aaron.Parker98 as my Instagram tag as well. Now, as well, big thanks to everybody. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. So, once again, I will be making more of these PowerPoint presentations, bro, because I absolutely love doing this, man. It's really, really fun. So, thank you for your time, guys. Enjoy yourself. As I said, if you've got any questions, just comment, man, and enjoy. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. Have a good one.